Do 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 dum 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 do 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 dum dum dum. The sheep is on fire. Do 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 do, and they're burning on top of the hill. Do 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 do. This is Tafad, and we are live in the castle ground. And on my right, we have the one and only Flap Sandwich.
Adios.
Amigo, señorita. Hola, hola,
Hola.
hola. Amigo, señorita. And on my left, yeah, El Baco, yeah. On my left, we have the one and only, yeah, from the Antichrist, the band itself, live in our studio cabin, Lewis. Lewis, how's it going on?
Yo,
Welcome.
it's been a long time in the making, isn't it?
It has. You were supposed to be here last time.
I know. And the feds took me away
Yeah.
for the weekend.
Do, 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 do.
I said I'll do it, and then didn't turn up. And then when I rang you said, where were you? And I said, spending it down Cardiff Bay police station.
Oh my gosh. But we got you here live and direct. Yeah. So how's your week been?
Good. Yeah, I've had 5 days off in the lovely weather, spending it with a new dog.
And you have a new addition to the family.
Yeah, when I say dog, I mean a dog, not a woman. So yeah, with the puppy. Spending it with a new puppy. Yeah, it's been like having a baby.
And what's the puppy's name?
Gus.
Gus.
Yeah.
And how old is he?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
And what's that been like? What have you been up to with him?
What
What stage is he at now?
the biting stage?
The biting.
Yeah, the biting stage. The willful disobedience stage. Hoping that'll stop, and when I can take him out for walks after next week, I think he'll calm down a bit. Yeah.
Is he leaving past this behind the TV?
Oh, he's leaving them outside on the gravel. But he
gosh.
is pissing on the carpet occasionally. So yeah, I don't think a human child would do that. So that's the only difference. But yeah.
And what's he eating at the moment?
Well,
What you got?
I said I was going to be tough and not give in, and he was just going to have dog food. But he has been. I've sneaked him a few treats from my plate. So ravioli and mince, and yeah, now he's begging. So I've probably started something which I can't stop now. So yeah, I'm a soft touch. I'm too soft.
He likes the ravioli. He's a ravioli.
He loves the ravioli. I think he's got a bit of Italian in him. Chinese Italian. Very diverse.
And what breed of dog is he?
He's a Chow Chow.
Chow Chow.
Yeah, from China. They're one of the oldest breed of dogs. Hence why they have a blue tongue. Well, blue black. Yeah. So and big round paws like a bear. Yeah. So good fun there. Not exactly the dog I think most people would expect me to have. I think most people probably expect me to have a German Pinscher or something like that to go with my SS uniform. But there you go. That's a joke. That is a joke. But yeah, no, he's good fun. I just can't wait to take him out for walks and do that and be a bit more active. How about you? How's your week been? What have you been up to?
Well, apart from
Apart from that, let it out.
That gas.
Weekly turd joke coming up.
I haven't said anything about pulling turds out.
It's all that yam, bro.
There it is.
Yeah.
So, Lewis, Ninja introduced you as a member of Antichrist.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Antichrist, how you formed and what you're about?
So Antichrist is a band I'm in. We formed, I think it was in 2018, 2019, and it was myself and two friends. It actually started as a live band version of my other thing I do called the Dwight Von Dammer Experience, which was formerly known as Tumblr Girls. And we just started jamming around. All the tracks on Dwight were electronic based, so there was no live musicians playing. It was just me and a backing track. So we were thinking about turning them into a live setup, and we had a jam with the two guys in Antichrist, myself and another musician, and it was fun and it worked out okay. But then we thought, oh, maybe we can do something a bit different with this. So when I was about 14, 15, I had an idea for this band where everyone dressed up as demons from hell, like something out of a 17th century manuscript, like wood carvings, like something out of the Dictionary Infernal. So, but they were obsessed with pizza. Came to Earth to take souls and ended up becoming interested in pizza instead. So I was working in a joke shop at the time in Cardiff Centre. There's a plug there for Claude. And I obviously had access to a lot of bits and pieces, and myself, an ex-partner and someone who worked in another joke shop helped me make the costumes from the ideas I had. And it just went from there. It's good fun because I like to think I'm quite an imaginative person. I got lots of ideas running around in my head 24/7. Just constantly on a loop. So it was a good outlet for that and allowed me to be theatrical and give life to this thing I'd had in my mind since I was a kid.
I seen the bird outfit. It's amazing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you made that yourself?
No, well, I came up with the idea and I knew in my head what I wanted it to look like, but it was mainly created with the help of the guy who works in the other joke shop in the arcade called Glenn.
Glenn, big up Glenn.
Glenn Thompson.
Glenn Thompson, big up for helping make the birdie outfit.
But
birdie.
But yeah, like,
so why a bird? Is that related to something in the 17th century
thing
you talked about?
So there's funny enough, when I was very, very young, my mum and my grandparents, they had a lot of books about Arthur C. Clarke and that sort of thing, and about folklore in Wales and in the UK in general.
Nice.
And in this book, there was a section about demonology. And one of the couple of the illustrations were these amazing woodcuts of demons from this book. And I later found out as I got older, it was from a book called The Dictionary Infernal, which it's basically like a grimoire of grimoire, great word that. Of demons and what they, what level of hell they command, how many legions of demons, and what they're usually summoned for. And this one image stuck with me in particular. I remember seeing it when I was about 7 or 8, and it was of this demon bird. It was actually, the bird was a thrush. It wasn't a crow, but it was a thrush. Yeah. And it was called Cain, and it can be spelt a variety of different ways, K-I-N or K-A-Y-M, which is the Gaelic version. But it's basically, if you know your Bible, Cain was the first murderer.
Yeah. And
so this demon, it can speak to animals and converse with bullocks and birds, and it's a trickster. It's a trickster demon. And I think from what I remember, it's a Grand Prince of Hell. So
what's that? Grand Prince? Grand
Prince of Hell. So there's different layers in hell. Obviously, you've got Satan, Lucifer, which is the top of the pyramid, and then you've got all other sub-demons going down. Yeah.
Princes.
And you know this, you've got all the books. You're into this type of stuff as well. So
Demonology.
Ninja's a warlock.
Oh, demonology.
But so that's where that came from. And the other guys in the band were based off other images from that book as well. So one of them's James, who's the bassist. He's Moloch, which is a Canaanite god, usually seen as a bull-headed, a calf.
Yeah. Bull ring 0121 Birmingham. Keep your horns on. Yeah. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
wasn't it an owl called Moloch as well?
There is. He can appear in various forms. I mean, if you know anything about Bohemian Grove, which is you know about this, but Bohemian Grove is an American secret society. It's a place in America where lots of ex-presidents, heads of industry.
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy was part of it, and it's very, very secretive. They all meet up once a year. It's in, I believe it's on the outskirts of Washington, and it's in big redwood forests. Very secretive. No one can get in or out unless you're invited. And there's
in dressing gowns.
They've got white dressing gowns and naked, pitching a tent. And then you've got this man-made lake pond in the center of the woods with a giant, I think it's a 20-foot stone owl statue. And they all stand around it, performing all these rites. And one of them, I believe, is called I could be misthinking this, but I think it's the kindling of the flame. And they burn an effigy on it of a child.
The burner baby.
Yeah.
Baba.
Yeah.
An effigy.
But yeah, so it was all from that, and I was a massive fan of a band called Gua growing up.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I love Gua, and another band called the Aquabats, which were a ska punk band. And both bands are very theatrical, dressed up, and I love anything like that. So yeah, it was a natural progression from that, and no one else was doing anything like it in Cardiff.
No.
So
I did come and see you.
Yeah, you came to Journey, videoed it, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'll be putting the video up as well on my page, ninja.uk.
You got the T-shirt as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Are you wearing it now?
No.
He's not wearing it now. No, you're not wearing it now.
No.
That's sponsored by Nike.
No.
So with the demonology, just going back to that a minute.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an experience in real life with demons, or have you ever summoned a demon?
Dated a few. No. Yeah, no, I've had. I was always interested in that sort of thing.
So you believe it's real then?
In the supernatural, yeah, I believe there's something. I think it's good to keep an open mind, and there's things we can't explain in the world. I think it would be very foolish to think we know everything there is to know about the planet and about everything. It's impossible. You can't. A couple of years ago, I was living with a friend and his wife and 2 kids in their house, and I was sleeping in the back bedroom, and I had a double bed, and it was a blow-up double bed. And even when it was, rock solid, just being pumped up, if you rolled over on it, it would creak quite bad and squeak. And I'll never forget, one night, I fell asleep and got woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know I was awake, and I know it was 3 o'clock in the morning because I looked at my phone and it was dead on 3. And I got woken up, which I think that's the witching hour. Correct me if I'm wrong.
3 o'clock in the morning.
And I got woken up because there was a bang, bang, bang on the floor where the bed was. So it sounded like someone was in the living room with a walking stick or a brass top cane, and they smacked the ceiling. So I thought, maybe it was central heating. And I was just laying there trying to get back to sleep. And the only way I can describe it is the whole atmosphere in the room changed.
Yes, which it does.
It went very heavy and didn't feel nice. And at that exact moment, I was laying on my stomach, facing the wall, so facing to my left, and my right foot, which was near the corner of the bed, the bottom of the bed, the corner, sank. And I felt my foot like the incline where it went down with my foot. And the only way I can describe it to you is it was almost as if it was like a guy sat on the end of the bed. It was as if a man sat on the end of this bed. And I couldn't look at it because I thought, if I see something there, it's like a H.P. Lovecraft novel. If you know anything about H.P. Lovecraft, when people see these elder things, these nameless horrors, they go totally insane because their human brain just can't comprehend it. Everything they know goes out the fucking window. How can you go back from that? And I thought, if I see something there, everything I know and know to be true will just go. Like, how can you come back from that? So I just remember sitting, laying there and closing my eyes, and I remember just gripping my fists and saying, "In the name of Jesus Christ, please leave." And the bed just went up again, and the atmosphere stopped, and then that banging happened again, and it just went. And I got up the next day, and I remember, I don't get upset like that much about things, but I remember seeing my friend's wife the next day and just bursting into tears because I was that upset and frightened by what had happened. I've never been that frightened in my life. And I've got no explanation for it. I was definitely not asleep. 100% not asleep.
Were you on drugs?
No.
Completely sober?
Completely sober. I don't do drugs, and I don't drink that much.
Had you had mushroom soup?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it could have been the local nonce climbing through the window at night. I don't know, but
Probably a bit old for him, mate.
yeah. I think I was 31 at the time, so yeah,
Yeah,
a bit
probably.
too old.
So
yeah.
where was that?
That was up. So I always get confused. I think it's Lanrumney.
Lanrumney.
Just top at Lanrumney Hill, the estate off there.
And was the house spooky as well, or was it just a...
No, it's just it was an ex-council house they bought. I think they bought it 10 years previously. An old person had lived there prior, and I don't think it'd been. I don't know if they died there or not, but it was definitely a man. That's what it felt like. It felt like a big guy sat on the end of the bed. And I checked the bed the next day, and the bed was totally solid. There was. I remember pumping it up before I went to bed, and it just wasn't. That's the bed, by the way, pumping the bed up, nothing else getting pumped up. It was just...
Your sangles.
Yeah. I got no explanation for it.
Yeah.
It was just... What about you? Have you ever... Yeah? No?
I've had a few experiences, but they were drug-induced, and this show's more about you than me, so we'll talk
That's
about
just an average night out, though, in St. Mary Street, isn't it? Experiencing things on the supernatural.
There's only drugs for that, man.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, well, the state where the atmosphere changes in the room, that's correct, right? A musky kind of, so something enters the atmosphere. Also, sometimes another person could be there, as a witness, and they can't see what's going on or feel, and it's just you personally. That's because if you look at Freud and Carl Jung, they talk about the phantos and the eros. These are two states within us all, where, one is the cupboard of skeletons, and the eros is all of our aspirations and, feel-good factor and all these things. But they're states of mind which everybody's born in. And from ancient times till now, there is archetypes, like
the hero, and
different levels of what we could call the demonology, lower levels of mind, like for instance, manifestations. Like for instance, when a body dies, you could lock up a room, and the body is in a room and it's dead. Then eventually it will break down, and eventually maggots will start coming out. And flies. Yeah. Now, how can maggots and flies come out of a
locked
body
room.
In a locked room? How did they get in?
Yeah.
This is
You tell me. You tell me.
Well, do you know about the stone tape theory? Do you know about that?
No.
So there's no. It's a bit of a strange one. There's no real scientific evidence for this, but I believe this is probably a likely explanation. So certain rocks and minerals have magnetic particles. So like if you know anything about people who practice with crystals and stuff, they believe amethyst is a very powerful type of crystal. So there's a theory where if there's say for instance we're in Cardiff Castle at the moment, so underneath Cardiff Castle there could be a vast mineral deposit of certain rocks or minerals or metals, and they can possibly conduct think of it this way: if there was a battle in this castle, a really bloody battle, hundreds of years ago, that's lots of energy being built up by people, lots of death. And if you believe in this, some people believe that when someone dies, really powerful, you can't see it, but a powerful energy comes from the body.
Yeah.
So if that happens on a massive scale, or something really traumatic happens, someone dies and releases this energy, and there's this mineral deposit within that area, even if they built a house, for instance, out of certain stone, it can be like a recording on a tape player.
Yeah.
So it writes to that. And if someone comes along years later, or whenever, and they give off a certain frequency, they don't even know they're doing that. It's like flicking the switch on a tape player, and that then replays. And that person, if they're receptive to it, that's when they see maybe a ghost, for instance, or maybe they hear something.
Yeah, trapped
energy. I think that's probably the most plausible theory for it. I don't think there's, I don't really think ghosts are any negative or, you know, friendly entities. I think it's just a case of something being replayed. Because you find most ghosts in history, they're things that have happened from a traumatic event, aren't they? So, you know, things like in Hampton Court, apparently they see a lot of Henry VIII's wives, you know, there, because obviously a lot of them were beheaded. That was a traumatic event, major trauma. The battlefields in, you know, in the First and Second World War. I went to Ypres on a school trip. Apparently a lot of the battles took place, there's a lot of things cited there or who they're replaying.
And they've had high power radios that pick up things from even the Second World War, even now. So sound gets traveling through space.
Have you ever seen a spirit box? They're like a device where you can ask a question and this box is recording and it can pick up frequencies. And sometimes, obviously, I don't know if this is a real person or ghost, but if you ask a question, sometimes a voice will come through and it'll say things. You can pick up certain things being said.
The Ouija board, that's another one.
It's like a modern Ouija board, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, because we live on a planet and it's like in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, that small, and vast amount of what we live in is unseen.
Yeah.
And, we only live in a small amount of what's seen. And yet, what you were talking about energy, that's where lodestone comes from. It comes from a rock in Persia, where all the needles of ships and that, like Bermuda Triangle, go absolutely crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where lodestone magnets come from, or magi attract and repel.
Yeah.
And as you can see with magnets.
Well, magi is another term for magic, isn't it?
Yeah, magic.
Or magician.
Magician, yeah. You get two magnets. There's nothing in between, you can't see it, but yet the forces are repelling and attracting, so it does exist. So pussies, wake up. This man is a genius. Talk, rude boy. Talk.
Dropping bombs, are we ninja?
Talk, rude boy.
Talk.
Rude
boy.
So this
rude boy.
So this experience that you had, right?
Yeah.
When you wouldn't look.
Yeah.
Because if you did look and you see everything that you know.
Yeah, it go out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think like growing up, you read accounts of people who've had these experiences and you think, oh yeah, that'd be cool to see. But when it actually happens to you, it's a totally different kettle of fish. And I just can't explain it. You know, a couple of weeks later, I had sleep paralysis. And I was going through a really stressful time anyway. So I believe that certain things get attracted to you if you feel a certain way, if you're maybe depressed or anxious, or you can open up yourself an invitation, so to speak, to certain things. But within that 3-week period, I had that incident happen. And then 3 weeks afterwards, I had sleep paralysis. And I don't know if you've ever had that. You basically wake up and you're fully aware of what's going on and you're awake, but you can't move your body. And it feels like something is pinning you down. Now, I know that wasn't supernatural. I knew exactly what it was, but it was still frightening. And it never happened to me before, but you just couldn't move. It was like I was just paralyzed and like someone was holding me down. It's quite a few people have had it. And, you know, everyone I've spoken to who've had it, they've all said the same thing. It was during times of immense stress and upset or upheaval in their life. Awful.
Yeah, that one's you get a demon who's supposed to sit on the chest, or a goblin one. And
that's correct.
One was a man, something from the...
It was a incubus or succubus, normally they
There's
say.
one like that, yeah. And there was one with a man with a big hat in a tuxedo, right? Yeah. Sat on the side of the bed. And when I was years back, about 30, I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, my chest, I couldn't breathe
so
either.
You saw this. You saw this apparition.
Yeah, and this was in Hampstead, and
that's just a local crack dealer, isn't it?
Huh?
That's just a local crack dealer climbing through your window
with one of those big hats. And stagecoach driver kind of thing. Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah,
like a tri-corner type hat, was it?
Top hat, like
oh
that
right,
one,
okay,
one of those, and cut jacket from and it was terrible, man. I could feel the chest. I couldn't speak.
Yeah,
I couldn't talk, but I did get rid of it eventually. I did get rid of it because it was a dark spirit in, and the house that I was in, 48 Kentish Road.
Okay.
48 Kentish Road. No, it was, Hampstead. It's when it was, what was it? Before we went there, it was Hampstead in Birmingham, right? And the house, someone had died in the house. It used to be a mine shaft and that. Some bad things had happened in the house. And when my mum got the house, it was a masonette. Yeah, that's it. 45 Stafford Court. That was the one.
So all that emotion was soaked into the walls of the house.
Yeah, and it come through the cupboard. It was a cupboard. It kept coming
from the cupboard.
Force. Yeah. Well, and I ran into my mum's room a few times, and I'm telling you something, right? I did get rid of it though. I had to fight it. I used, salt? Yeah. And I put a glass of water on the other side, and I put a tape measure over the door. A tape measure.
And what did the tape measure do?
They don't like to be measured.
That's true. I'd say that's a good
numbers rule them in magical squares and this, that, the other. They don't like to be, and I give it a fucking beating.
Did you do a circle? Was it a circle of salt, or was it just salt lying across the door?
I put salt in a glass, half glass at the side of the bed, and I put a glass of water, and then I got up. I put tape measure over the door.
See, I'm surprised that compared to you, mate, even when you were 10, you probably would have been outgrowing a demon or an apparition. But you were already 6 foot by 10 years of age, weren't you?
No, I only just grown recently.
Oh, growth spurt, was it?
Yeah, down here, really. Yeah, I was only about 5.
But 8, if you think about it, most people's houses.
It was a bad force, that one in there, though. It was terrible.
It's not surprising, though, is it? Because you think most people's houses, especially in London, Birmingham. Birmingham was an industrial city. London has got so much history attached to it. Same as Cardiff. Most houses people live in, whether they own or renting, if they're older houses, you think how many families have lived in that house before you? How much drama has gone on in that house? How much emotion, good and bad, has gone in? You don't know. People have probably died in half the houses we live in. There's been arguments. There's been fights. All sorts of stuff. So, I believe it probably does seep into the brickwork, so to speak. It has to leave some sort of trace. There's things we don't understand. Like I said, I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not saying this is 100%. But that's just my own personal views on it.
I beat it out with a chip spatula.
So when you took your demon band on the stage, when was that and how did it go?
I think the first show was in 2018, 2019.
Was that the first time you'd ever played live?
No, I'd been in band since I was 16. I used to be in a ska punk band when I was, I think, the age of 16 to 18, which was called Wheelchair Getaway Drivers. But I'd always, I've always been a bit of a weird kid. And I've always liked odd things. And my grandfather was a musician. He was a singer, jazz singer, and he played trumpet. And he had a band and would play all over Cardiff. And he was, secretary for the Musicians Union. So I grew up with a love of music and performing. And he always encouraged me. My grandfather passed away 10 years ago, and so he never saw Antichrist or my Dwight Von Dammer, but he saw Wheelchair Getaway Drivers live, and we had a brass section, and it was very hectic and very, I think, it was heavier than he expected. Obviously, he was 80 when he passed away, but he appreciated that, and he loved seeing me perform live. And I'll never forget, we played on my 18th birthday in Floyd's bar when Floyd's Clothing had it upstairs.
Yeah.
I had my 18th birthday party there, and when we came on, he compared and introduced us, and he got a massive round of applause. So yeah, like performing, all that sort of thing, art especially. I used to love drawing as a kid. It's always been very much encouraged in my family. I was always being encouraged by my grandparents from an early age to pursue that. But yeah, when we played live, I don't think anyone knew what to expect. I know we didn't, and it was a bit of a testing ground because I remember the mask in particular was very hot, and I could only see out of a gap that big, as well as singing because I had the microphone in. This is before I had a radio headset mic. The microphone had to be put into so my field of vision was probably size of a bottle cap on either side. But yeah, I don't think anyone knew what to make of it. When these three guys come out on stage dressed in all this costume, someone else comes out with a giant pizza slice, demonic pizza head on. You've got someone dressed up as a frog chucking out sex toys out of a sack.
Your granddad would be so proud.
I know. He'd be,
he'd be amazed.
My grandmother, she passed away 2 years ago, and I was living with her at the time when I started Antichrist. And I have to find humour in even the darkest things. But my nan was dying of she had bowel cancer for 2 years, and some days she'd be laying in bed, and I'd help around the house and stuff. And every day before work, I'd go in and see her make a cup of tea. But my mum used to go mad because my mum would come up and stay sometimes, and my nan would be in bed watching TV. And my nan wasn't, she wasn't like one of these really frail old people who were totally doolally. My nan was really switched on and totally with it and didn't look her age. And I used to walk into her bedroom in that demon costume. And if anyone's seen Antichrist, you'd know I have a fake penis which sprays silly string out of it. And I'd walk in there with that going, ah! And my nan would just go, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to get arrested looking like that. Put it away. I've got, my family aren't phased. They're not phased. I got a very open family. So very lucky in that respect.
Where was it you grew up with your family? Are you from Cardiff or?
No, I'm from Barry originally.
Barbados.
Yeah, I grew up in Barry.
Big up the Barbados, massive.
Big up Barry.
Barbados.
Yeah, I grew up in Barry. My mum, my grandparents were originally from Canton originally.
Canton, massive.
Yeah, do you know Radiocraft?
Yeah.
On Canton, yeah. My grandfather used to be. I think he was part of that as the managing director team for that for many years. But they met in Canton. Then they moved to Barry after they had their third child. And my dad, he was born in Aldershot. My dad's father was an army PT instructor. He's still alive now. And they lived in Hong Kong, Germany. My dad grew up in Kowloon, and they came back to Wales when my dad was about 13. So, but yeah, I'm from Barry, I guess, if you want to call it. And I've lived in Cardiff on and off since I was 17, 18. Yeah, so.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got a sister who's 20. How old am I now? She's 24 now.
Yeah.
So there's a 10-year age difference between me and my sister. She lives in Australia with my parents, and she's a paediatric nurse.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm the black sheep of the family. My sister's the one who did well and studied, and I'm the one who dressed up in a bird costume with a fake penis.
Band you want to see, man, absolutely brilliant. One of the best I've seen live performances in my life, man. Really, I was blown away. I went to Fuel. I seen a pizza. I seen a bird with a long extension.
Bigger than yours, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was on the ground. Yeah. And
but we've known each other since I was 15. So I'm 34 now. So we've known each other a long time, and we've always talked about doing something, haven't we, musically, and getting you to come and see my band, and we just never got round to it until recently.
Until I went to the pub to see one of you.
That's right.
What happened there?
You went to see me do the Dwight Von Damme thing, and I blew the speakers.
The speakers blew up. Everything blew up. It was.
That was in a Rimmer Tavern though, so that could have been some supernatural forces at work.
Yeah,
But yeah, we've known each other a long time, and I'm surprised we never.
And the horse and what's that horse and what Full Moon used to be?
The whole Fuel. Fuel.
Yeah, Awesome Groom, all under there, right? That place was that was possessed by a real evil spirit, man.
Underneath where fuel is, when it was the
in
molten
full
room.
moon, the woman called me in there, right? Because it was a Latin American place before they started.
That's right. They had a restaurant, didn't they?
Before Flap Sandwich told, is it Steve about it, right?
After you told me about it.
After I told you about it, right? The place was going.
Yeah.
The woman called me in there, and I went in there, and everyone was in there, and it was knocking glasses off the place. It was running through the room, this spirit, right, and everything. You know, it was
Sounds
happening
like a
more
pisser.
and more. Yeah. So I went in there and exercised it.
Did you take the spatula in and the glass full of salt? And
No,
the tape measure?
I used a beer mat this time off the side. I just grabbed the beer
I told
mat.
you it was a pisser, didn't I? Did you go? You should have said,
I gave him a
listen,
beating.
you're bad. Get out. Time, gentlemen, please.
I send it time traveling, man, honestly. I give her a good beating with a beer mat. And my words.
So
the little pussy had to go.
So, Lewis, we've titled the show "The Most Hated in Cardiff." Cardiff's most hated. Can you explain why that might be, or do you want to go there, or?
can if you want to.
Well, we just
That's
talk about
fine.
your version of events. Why is Lewis hated in Cardiff? And are you hated?
Oh yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
It's true, is it?
Yeah.
But you've still got
Yeah.
friends, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're friends.
I've got you're my friends, and
Yeah.
I've got friends who are real friends.
So why have people turned against you, bro? What's going on?
It's because I'm human Marmite.
Human Marmite.
You either love or hate me. I make no bones and no apologies that I am an outspoken person. Probably too much for my own good, and I've always been the same. I've always been a mouthy little shit. But yeah, I mean, I pull no punches in what I say, and I think probably I say things the wrong way sometimes, and people can interpret it however they want, which leads to a lot of issues. But yeah, people think I'm a Nazi, don't they, Ninja?
Yeah.
I know, I've got to be the worst Nazi going if that's the case.
But yes.
Do you think without the internet you'd still have the same problems, or do you think the internet exacerbated?
Yeah, I think the internet did. I think, but then I would think the internet has caused a lot of problems for people. I mean, you look at how the world is nowadays. You've got people trawling through people's Twitter history, Facebook history from 10 years ago, looking for a minor infraction against whatever their political dogma is or viewpoint, and then they get so up in arms about it. They'll go after people's jobs, they'll go after people's family, and you know, I've never done anything like that. You know, I can have a joke and stuff about things, but I think when you go after people's livelihoods because of a difference of opinion, I think that's wrong.
And sometimes people misinterpret. Like, for instance, you know, we took a picture of, you know, Cardiff. We are Cardiff, so whether a person's homeless or whatever, anything that's in the environment, just take a picture. And some things that people come in, how could you have?
Yeah. Well, I noticed that when I saw when I saw you post those pictures of that, you know, the homeless person in the street. I was waiting for somebody to comment and say, "Oh, this is exploitative." I was waiting for it because the thing is, it's like everyone's got an opinion. It's like an arsehole. Everyone's got an arsehole. Everyone's got one, and they all stink. No one's.
Some people got two.
Some people do.
Some people have three.
They got double the stench then. But yeah, I think people need to learn that just because you have an opinion on someone has a difference of opinion on something, it doesn't mean that, you know, yours is still the correct one, or that there's this evil, monstrous person. It's just an opinion of it, and I think too many people just don't learn to just go, oh, okay, whatever, and go about their day. It's a very odd time we find ourselves in, and I think there's going to be, in the future, maybe 50, 60 years' time, I think they'll look back at it and they'll see that there's so much, they're like, oh, got somewhere else to be, have you?
No.
Sorry,
What's that?
sorry to disturb you, mate.
But yeah, I think we're going to look back and see that the internet and this type of thing has done so much damage to people, to kids. You know, you've probably seen it. How many parents do you see just giving their child an iPhone to placate them as a pacifier? And kids aren't learning how to mix with the kids. They've got no social skills. And this is why you're seeing a rise in people labeling their children autistic. They can't. There's got to be some correlation between it. But yeah, my view is I don't care what your opinions are. I don't care what you want to think. I don't care about any of that. If I get on with you as a person, I take you as I find you. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But
so you allow for difference of opinion in your friends.
Yeah, I could be friends with someone who's got totally different views to me, and it wouldn't bother me. But I think the opinion is on the other side is if someone disagrees with you, then that means they're the enemy. It's too much of a divide, and it's destructive.
Yeah.
It's destructive, and it's not how people should be. It's very. I just think if you turn the power off tomorrow, if the power went down tomorrow and the internet went down and everything turned off, I think you very quickly see people separating into groups and fighting, and it'd be a shit show.
I don't know, man. I think if anything, that might solve the issue because isn't it the internet and the fact we're hiding behind the keyboard that's exacerbating the problem of people feeling safe to call you out because it's not to your face,
It could be, but I'd say there's definitely something in that because the amount of times I've walked past people, it happened today, I walked past people in town who have said shit about me online and shit stirred, and as soon as they see me, they just look at the ground.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's gotten to the point now, if I see any of them, I'll just go, hi, and just wave and act like a total retard and just start acting like there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And just embarrass them because they're not going to say anything and they're not going to do anything.
No, they never do.
No.
I've even found some of them who have given me shit online are like nice as pie.
Nice to your face.
Yeah.
I've
In
had
real
that
life,
as well.
It's like, what? You called me a cunt yesterday.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
How are you?
It's false though, isn't it? It's Ninja, whatever.
How are you?
But and I think as you know this, you both know this. When you're young and you're going out on town for the first time, you have lots of friends, and I use that in quotations because you think these people are your friends, but they're not. They're just acquaintances you see out on a Friday night when you're getting pissed because you go to the same club, you like the same things. And from those like 50, 60, 100 people you're friends with, as you get older, you tend to only keep maybe about 5 or 10, 20 at a push of those people around. And those people stick by you through thick and thin. And those are your real friends. You know,
I'd probably argue it's less than that, but I do agree with what you're saying. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, I would say 20 is a big push, but
man.
I could probably count who my close friends are on both my hands. That would be it.
Definitely say, one hand for me.
Yeah, one hand for you, is it?
Maybe one finger.
Yeah. And one thumb, keep moving. Yeah.
But I mean, photographing the Cardiff environment and this, that, the other, right? Just, whether the floor, whether there's people there or people not there, it's what's happening in Cardiff. So why would I hide from what I'm photographing? Well,
it's life, isn't it? It's real life.
I was on the street.
Yeah.
I lost everything. I was on the street, right? And I stand out, I'm tall, and I fucking made it. I can go all the way down the escalator and all the way to the top. So fuck them who people will always have opinion. You see, life is not for the fast or for the swift. It's like the marathon. It's for those fuckers who can endure to the end.
You've got to take it steady, haven't you? Pace yourself.
That's it. To your pace, your heartbeat, you know what I mean? And that's why, I see people, that, whether they're homeless or they're not homeless, they're still people.
Yeah, they are.
You know what I mean? And some people got to get real. This is what's in our environment.
And what you've just touched on, I think that's something to remember is
I've made it.
Regardless of opinions, we're all people. We all have feelings. We all have hopes, dreams, things we like, things we dislike. We're all people. We've all got shit going on in our lives that other people don't know what's going on. And it'd be very easy for me. There's plenty of people out there who hate me. I'm well aware there are people who would love nothing better for me to top myself. There are people out there who would like that. But even now, I've got to the point as I've gotten older, there was a time where I would want revenge on these people and I'd want to be really, I'd want to do something. But as I've gotten older, I can't even bring myself to hate these people because hate is a waste of an emotion. I think the only thing I can do is pity these people because you have nothing. If you have that much hate in your heart that you would do those type of things to someone else, you've got to have a pretty miserable life, So I pity those people, and I hope that those people can realize what they're doing is wrong and how it might affect other people, and just maybe think, oh, actually, I'm being a bit of a dick. I mean, it's not illegal to be bit of a dick. But yeah, I think it's easy to dehumanize someone, isn't it?
Precisely.
Who disagrees with you.
Precisely. And you know, I find in a lot of cases, even when you're doing something which is progressive and you're doing something, you'll always get people who will be looking for scapegoats. It's a scapegoat country, you know.
Or waiting for you to fall. And you know what it's like. Yeah. When you succeed, everyone wants to know. When you trip over and fall, that's when it's like, oh, I always knew he was a cunt. Oh,
yeah.
And it's Knives Out time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know about it because look at the music. When you were the media darling, you had that record, you had the parade through Cardiff. Everyone wanted to know. Everyone was, oh yeah, Cardiff talent, rah rah rah. And then, because you know, obviously you're still going, but now it's like, oh, no one wants to know, and it's all gone very much like, oh, it's false. Do you know what I mean?
You see the false ones there, yeah.
They don't want to continue, you know, that homegrown help.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question related to this.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on revenge?
Vengeance is mine.
If you
saith the Lord.
That's a good question. It's easy to give in to anger. It's really easy. And I think we've all been there. I know I've been there lately where I would want nothing more than revenge against people who've hurt me. And I've been through some pretty tough shit in the last couple of years. You know, even stuff, I won't go into too much, but even stuff involving my own mum a couple of years ago. And that's, you know, quite a dysfunctional story with my upbringing. And it'd be very easy for me to want revenge against my mum and want nothing to do with my mum for all the issues that have arisen because of my upbringing. But I've let it go, and I now, like, I've got my mum lives with me. I've got my mum living with me because she's not very well. So I still feel a responsibility for my mum. You know, she's still my mum. I still love her. And yeah, she's caused me a lot of problems over the years, but I still love her and I can forgive her. And I realized that revenge against her or holding any sort of grudge was counterproductive, and it made me miserable, you know? So yeah, revenge, I just let go of it. Even, you know, it sounds cliche, doesn't it? Bringing up the Bible, because, you know, it's easy to rag on the Bible, isn't it? And, you know, anyone who's got any sort of Christian views, I'm not even, you know, Christian or anything, but I think there's some good lessons in there to be taken for moral lessons. And, you know, one of them is turn the other cheek, isn't it? Which is a really good, it's hard to do. And that's the thing. It shows a real strength of character if you can turn the other cheek.
Because you've still got one left, innit?
Yeah, you've still got one left.
Just pull the mic off your neck, mate. I'm just getting your beard.
There you go. That's better.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've still got one left.
There's someone in the chat there. James Reed says, good living is the best revenge.
It is. Oh,
Success,
that's Antichrist, James.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's Moloch.
Antichrist.
Antichrist in the house.
In the house. Booyah. Hoorah.
We've got a John Dope in the chat as well. He's speaking in Welsh. I don't know what he's saying.
Is it some Welsh nationalist stuff?
And Codmate says, let's see if I can see that. Codmate says, seek revenge, and you should dig 2 graves, one for yourself.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of revenge myself, but
it's good in theory, but in practice, I think it
just settles everything, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, right, we're done
it
now.
depends. Yeah. I mean, I think most people think of, if I get revenge, it'll be like some sort of action movie, you know, where the character, like John Wick, where he goes after, then my revenge will be ultimate.
This is what my stuff.
But it doesn't work like that in real life. Yeah. And I think, it's only yourself you're going to end up hurting and causing more shit for.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't get any understanding from it.
No.
Yeah, and the other side doesn't learn either. Sometimes time is the biggest healer, and you know, so sometimes to take yourself away from a situation, if you take yourself away from the water will still keep running. And the course it's going, it will end up where it ends up.
In the sewer.
Beautiful. We started with demons, we're finishing with forgiveness. How was that? So James Reed says, in crust we trust. We're going to have to wrap it up now because the battery's leaving. So, dying. So, any closing words, Lewis? Anything you want to say to the crew or Ninja?
Got to live, laugh, love, haven't you, Ninja?
and stop spitting in other people's bottoms. If you do it, right, then they're going to end up spitting in your bum. Remember that, yeah.
Good one.
Forgive.
Yes.